This conference will now be recorded.
Like Bukola said, I am Ben Wogo and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. So this webinar is part of a two-day webinar organized by the Lagos State chapter of the Young Pharmacists Group to help young pharmacists navigate their career path. More importantly, also help them make informed career choices. So it started off yesterday. Yesterday was the day one of the webinar, and we had in our midst pharmacist Azuka Okeke, who is a public health and logistic expert, as well as pharmacist Eugene Ikobi, who is a production pharmacist. And today we are blessed to have in our midst today two very prominent personalities who have done remarkable things and are currently doing remarkable things in their respective career paths. Okay, so join me as I welcome pharmacist Moyosori Taiwo, who is currently the demand supply and inbound logistics manager at Sanofi, as well as pharmacist Albert Udo, who serves as the chief enterprise architect and business consultant at Antafric Consulting. So welcome, Mr. Pharmacist Albert and Taiwo. So we'll be getting on to the business of the day. So we'll be asking questions about your career path and the work you currently do. And we'll also be entertaining questions from our participants and, that are joining us from different locations. So I'll be starting with you, pharmacist Taiwo. So could you briefly tell us about your career journey so far from leaving pharmacy school, and most importantly, tell us in your position as manager at Sanofi? So I think it's currently muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
Good, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for this invite. It's always interesting to have this kind of platforms to share, and also to hear from folks from the pharmacy end of the profession. So I would say, usually when I introduce myself, my name is Moyo Taiwo, yes, and then I say I was trained as a pharmacist, and even though what I do on a day-to-day basis really is a support function to the pharmacy profession, more or less. So anyways, I'll start with what I do with Sanofi. I work in supply chain for Sanofi, and supply chain for vaccines and for specialty consumer healthcare, something like that. So can we meet on mics? There's some sound coming in. Okay, yes. So for Sanofi, I work in supply chain for the entire value chain of the supply chain process. I do forecasting, statistical forecasting. I do inbound logistics. I do inventory management. The entire sales and operations planning of making products available from the factories spread across Europe, Asia, North America, through the sea freight routes, air freight routes, into our warehouses, and also managing the data that comes with the entire operation. It's supply chain planning, basically. How did I get here? So I schooled in Ife, and I studied pharmacy, like I said earlier. And then I had an interest in public health first. I had wanted to work with the WHOs and the UNICEFs of this world. But then in that space, where pharmacists found the most relevance was in managing pharmaceuticals, health products, long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, medicines for malaria, tuberculosis, HIV, vaccines for polio and the likes. That's where pharmacists found the most relevance. For the doctors and the nurses and the other people in the healthcare team, they were more involved with the service delivery, putting in the vaccine, vaccinating people and the likes. So naturally, my entry into that space was through the commodity management end of how do you make these products available? How do you quality assure them, temperature loggers, measurements, and what have you? And I've done that. I had done that over the last 4 years before I transitioned into the private sector to handle core supply chain functions. Not as a support function to public health service delivery, but in supporting the growth of a business and access to medicines for populations. So in a summary, that's how my journey has been. I mean, I can go into details if you don't mind. But...
All right. Thank you very much for that brief introduction, pharmacist Taiwo. Moving over to you, pharmacist Albert. So how would you describe your journey so far from leaving pharmacy school up to this moment where you occupy a position as a business consultant?
You're hearing me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Are you here? Okay. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. It's always very nice that, interacting with pharmacists, especially the young ones who are trying to find their feet and coming into the world to see. That has been my passion all along. Well, leaving pharmacy school as a pharmacist, I happened to get into sales and marketing as a pharmaceutical sales rep for Pfizer then. Then I transited into NIMED. From there, I moved along the career path to district marketing manager. From there to product management. Well, I find my part in the marketing, aspects of the pharmaceutical business. And then from product management to business manager in Eli Lilly. I had a brief stint in Rambagzi, moving to Eli Lilly. Then from there to Emzor as head of marketing and strategy. From Emzor, we were able to build a subsidiary, which I became the pioneer chief operating officer. From there, I left in 2012 to be able to, get into my own consulting business. So that's how the path had been. It has been an interesting journey, and it is something that has been, born out of passion to see what impacts can we make on the pharmacy profession. In summary, that's what it is about. Now I'm into consulting business management. We will talk about business architecting. Probably by the time we get to talk about enterprise, we will be able to talk about what that is all about. So that's how it is. That's where I am today. I'm still a pharmacist. Unlike Moyo, Taiwo that said he's doing support function, which I want to tell him that it's not a support function. In fact, one of the things I want to correct is to let people know that pharmacy goes beyond the community pharmacy and the hospital. Pharmacy today has gone far beyond a lot of vistas. Supply chain management is very key today because if you look at the value chain from drug manufacturing to delivery to the patient, there are a lot of things that needs to be done. And if we want to fight, we have to fight fake and adulteration and the entrance of non-charlatans or non-professionals into the pharmacy. The supply chain has to be strengthened, so that we ensure that from the value chain is managed by pharmacists up to the point of consumption. So you are still a pharmacist, you are not doing a support function, you are doing a core job of a pharmacist, Taiwo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Albert. Obviously, the pharmaceutical landscape continues to expand and pharmacists continue to occupy much more roles in the pharmaceutical industry and beyond. Still on you, pharmacist Albert. I see you've had very prominent positions in the business marketing world. Starting off in Pfizer as a sales rep, moving on to NIMED as product manager, then also serving as the business development manager at LIU. So I want to ask, pharmaceutical curriculum is a factor of the students.
I'm not hearing you well. Hello.
Hello, pharmacist Albert. So I was just
good.
In a nutshell, I'm just asking that what role did your pharmacy training play in your current position, given that our curriculum doesn't really encompass the business side of pharmaceutical industry. So how would you describe the influence your training has on you, on your performance on the job at the moment?
As a matter of fact, the pharmacy training or the pharmacy curriculum as it currently, or then and up till now, currently structured, did not prepare me for what I met outside, especially in terms of career path and all that stuff. In fact, that's been the passion that we've been talking about in the industry for need to review the pharmacy curriculum to include things like supply chain that Taiwo was talking about, and then the business management aspects of it. Because business pharmacy, when you get out of the school, when you get out of the lab, is strictly business. And unfortunately, in this country, it's only now that pharmacy owners are beginning to imbibe business management, training, and that has been a challenge. So when you're talking as a pharmacist who had, gone for training, done training in addition, people look at you as a fellow pharmacist, and that's why we're having problems in the pharmaceutical sector today. A lot of pharmacists that are occupying management positions by virtue of ownership don't have understanding of what management is all about. So the training in the training curriculum needs to be revised to reflect these new challenges, of the pharmaceutical. Taiwo, I belong to a platform on, the supply chain managers, and you find out that on that platform there are a lot of other professions that have come in and they're trying to take over. In fact, they're arguing with pharmacists that they are not the owner of that space. And then when you're talking about drug handling and all that stuff, so if pharmacists don't move up, irrespective of the training that we had, we're soon going to face a situation whereby we are pushed to the periphery. Probably people now employ us as dispensers. So the training curriculum right now in the schools have not been able to wake up to the current realities of the pharmaceutical profession. Now, in terms of having core courses and then training, robust training in terms of management, supply chain, and every other thing, challenge that we see when you come out of school, school. So what there has to do, and anybody will tell you that you have to go on other trainings to be able to fit into that aspect, so that and take back the pharmaceutical industry from other people who are not pharmacists. Do you understand? So that's this thing. There was no training in school that prepares me for what it is today. It's training that I've done on myself and other things, because based on my passion and my career, what I love to do. That's what it is.
Yeah, thank you very much, my sister. Well, you just highlighted very important things we need to consider, that beyond the pharmacy training, other things and other qualifications, certifications, we might want to pursue on our own in order to strengthen our capacity to work in other different spaces within the pharmacy profession with trained. So about on the same topic, pharmacist Taiwo. So being a pharmacist in this supply chain now, how would you describe it in that space?
Okay. Hi. Can you go over that again? And then someone's mic is on.
Okay, let me just check.
Okay, can you please go over that again? I can hear you better now.
All right. So I was asking, what is it like being a pharmacist in the supply chain and logistics space? Based on your training, I believe at your workspace, you probably meet people who studied business administration, have MBA, or perhaps people who have a finance background. Understand? And you come in with a pharmacy background. How did that impact your work over the course of your career, and what you currently do at Sanofi?
Okay, I have a slightly different experience, just slightly, perhaps because I graduated not so long ago. I mean, millennial generation of pharmacists and what have you. Okay, so there are broadly two dimensions to it. The pharmacy curriculum, as much as it was still outdated at the time I was in school, perhaps was a bit closer to what the industry was asking of at the time I graduated, slightly closer. So we did things like finance and accounts. We did balance sheets in pharmacy, clinical pharmacy and pharmacy administration in IFE, as we call it, CPPA. We did balance sheets. It wasn't rigorous, and at the time it was being taught us, we thought they were tormenting us or disturbing us, really. I wish I could go back to those classes and give them more focus now. So they did a bit. It's strange that one of the underpinnings of what I do, because in the supply chain spectrum, there are people who are specialists in the shipping, sea shipping. They are gods of that space. There are people who are specialists in warehousing. There are those in forecasting, statistical forecasting, planning, which is the I play in that field. I supervise sea freight. Pharmacokinetics, the theoretical backing behind pharmacokinetics I found really useful. Volume of distribution, rate of elimination. If you're managing the therapeutic dose of, say, digoxin, for example, between an upper limit and a lower limit. I'm just going theoretical now, but what we're doing in planning, you're trying to keep inventory that is not so high that you become or waste of finance, cost of finance tied down. And you're trying to keep inventory that is not so low, so that when there is a surge in demand, you're able to have enough inventory to respond prior to when the product comes in. If you can recall digoxin, you're keeping the limits in the plasma at between a window. It's not so low such that the therapeutic effect is lost out, and it is not so high that the patient is exposed to toxic effects. So perhaps I'm being very anecdotal or theoretical in my application of what I did in pharmacy school to supply chain, but I'm not. It is not to say that you graduate as a pharmacist today, it's plug and play into supply chain space. Okay, I also had an experience that really gave me a different dimension to this. So one of these days, the Nigerian Customs Service recategorized one of our products into a different, category. And then I had to go back to my pharmaceutical chemistry. So it was a product, an oncology product. And by their definition, all oncology products are plant-based. Docetaxel, Catharanthus rosas, all those other products you get from plants. And then I had to go to my chemistry and get the product I used was cisplatin, organometallic compound that I developed on the bench. By virtue of my knowledge of that, I was able to engage the hierarchies at Nigerian Customs, and I was able to make them realize that this is not plant-based. Your definition of it being plant-based would expose us to this costs. Mr. Albert, is your mic on? Okay. So that is just me trying to make sense of what I learned in pharmacy school as it has affected what I do here. However, I must be very plain and say that if you want to work in supply chain and prosper, it is a supply chain by definition. I mean, let's leave pharmaceutical supply chain out first. Supply chain by definition, the consumer goods supply chain, the services supply chain, the healthcare supply chain is a space that is more amenable to engineers and economists than pharmacists by definition. So you're doing time series forecasting. It's a terminology in mathematics, engineering, econometrics. You're doing cost balancing. It's a terminology in economics, engineering management. You're doing things in global trade, financial transactions across countries, from the supplier country to the, pharmacy does not help you, to be very honest, in totality. It gives you some elements. It doesn't help you in totality. So what I did in my case was to take a course that changed my life. In literal terms, I'm not aspiring to perspire here. I put in the work, I did the course, and then it changed my life. MIT is the world's foremost research institution in supply chain. They are on the cutting edge. They are opinion leaders, and they have a course on EDX called Supply Chain Fundamentals. There, I had to be reborn again. I had to do more mathematics than I did in all of my time in Faculty of Sciences in IFE before entering pharmacy school. Some rigorous optimization using Excel solver, SAS, Python, some rigorous simulation and modeling on Excel spreadsheets. It was tough. It's a school of engineering, and they make no assumptions about your competence in mathematics. So you better come to the table. And having gone through that, baptism of fire, in addition to my pharmaceutical background, it makes me the best fit for the supply chain role I occupy right now in pharmacy, in the pharmaceutical company I work in. So if there's anything I'm going to condense out of all of what I've said, it is that your being a pharmacist gives you an advantage that you perhaps don't realize if you want to work in pharmaceutical supply chains. Because if you can put in the work and understand the supply chain theory from the engineers and the business scientists' perspective, coupled with your contextual knowledge of being a pharmacist, nobody can catch you. Like, it is yours for the taking, in summary. So that is it.
You?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Pharmacist Tyrell, for that revealing discussion. So yeah, our pharmacy training is very much applicable. If anything, actually gives us a vantage position through which we can build upon and develop and strengthen our expertise for those who are interested in supply chain. Still on you, Pharmacist Tyrell, you have a very amazing profile. You've worked national brands, Humanix International, where you occupied a similar position, and you also served as forecasting and supply planning advisor with the United States Agency for International Development. So, so these are top international brands. So I want to know. So how did you get to know about this job opening? Like, did you see them online, they advertised, or did you have someone that hinted you that, oh, there's an opening here? So anyway, this is two in one question. That's one. And then secondly, what made you stand out in terms of applying and being hired for such high profile positions?
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful question. I just thought to mention, you said high profile positions. I wish what came at the end of the month reflected the height of the profile. But anyways, so in giving the summary upfront, I skipped over some information I thought may not be too necessary at the beginning, because we're just getting started. To be very honest, I mean, I really must be honest here. I had been interested in public health, really. So as much as I enjoyed clinical pharmacy, pharmacology, and what have you, I had been interested in how I can use this competence that I'm acquiring through sweat and blood. How can I use it to better the lot of populations? So I was looking at return on investment. It's if I'm going to put in effort to dispense my duties as a pharmacist, in what way can I achieve scale? In what way can I influence people at scale, achieve impact at scale? And the pharmacy professional model, as it was defined at that time, you either go to rep, or you work in NAFDAC, or you be a lecturer, or you open a community pharmacy, was tilting towards influencing one person per time, especially the clinical and community dimensions. NAFDAC was more administrative, and you could affect populations, but it wasn't exactly my interest. So public health was it, but I was in pharmacy. And how would I have prepared myself for that space? So I had looked forward to entering WHO. I had been networking with a few colleagues who were working in that space, even from school. I was privileged to be PANS president, so it gave me some little bit of opportunity to engage people beyond my level. Attending, just like you guys right now, attending PSN engagements in Lagos. There wasn't the YPG then though, but so post IFE, post University College Hospital Ibadan, I did my internship there. I went on an internship in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. It was for free. I didn't make any money. In fact, I spent a lot of my savings from internship from my professional internship at the busybody internship in Ivory Coast. So there I learned to speak French. In the hospital, because we were interns, they didn't allow us access. You just, observe how HIV patients are being attended to, for example, how vaccinations are being done. You weren't brought in as a professional per se. You're regarded as someone being trained. But in Ivory Coast, because there was a dearth of, there was a lack of human resource, we're thrown into the forefront straight up, like, oh, you guys are pharmacists from Nigeria, you're well trained. Please help us sort this. This is your portfolio. This is what you do. I have a colleague, he works with Catholic Relief Services, Victor Adebayo. He managed a vaccinations for an entire sub-region. Imagine you fresh out of school being given Ogun State, for example, to manage the vaccines campaign. He worked with the International Committee of Red Cross and Red Crescent in Ivory Coast. I worked with a reference hospital for tuberculosis. I participated in dramas, sketches, a play sketch that teaches people the 5 cardinal signs of tuberculosis: night sweats, dry cough, weight loss, all those things. So that gave me the cannon fodder to tell anybody I had cause to engage unofficially that I have public health experience, whether you like it or not. I have a certificate to back that. And then they say, what did you do? And then for the next 1 hour, I can keep engaging you on the kind of things I did that people who have worked 3 years in Nigeria did not have, the opportunity they did not have. So that internship played a part. And then post the internship, I was privileged to serve in Cross River, which at that time, Cross River, Benue, Akwa Ibom, River State, was where HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, the epidemic was had the highest incidence. And we had a lot of folks coming in from FHI 360, John Snow, into the clinic to render care and to train us. I was one of the folks who would tell them, thank you for the training. I also learned in Ivory Coast that this and that could work that way. And they're like, oh, really? How did you know this? Can you help us do something more than what you're doing here? So they started pulling me out of the clinic to help them work in other places, because I was almost like a ready-made staff for them. I wasn't at the level where they needed to teach me the ABC. At that point, he was teaching me something slightly more complex. So I got in because of the competence I had built prior to job hunting. And then in addition to that, because of my ability to sell that competence to the people I was engaging with, people of authority, people of influence in the workspace I wanted to work in. So I came in as an intern. I did my very best. I distinguished myself, and then I was poached from there into John Snow. I did my best as well. I learned a whole lot. It was much tougher there than what I was doing before, but everybody rises to their level of incompetence. So you are at a level, you kill it, you get promoted. You kill it, you get promoted. After some time, you get to a point where your competence will tell you, calm down, you need to acquire more skills. You won't kill this one, chill. Then you put in the work, you learn, you fail. Once you have that competence, you kill it, you move on, you kill it. So GSI was a place of learning for me. It was tough. And then from GSI, I worked with Nigerian Supply Chain Integration Project. It was a global fund project as well. Also through my competence that spoke for me, as well as networking. I mean, I have to talk about that really. And then from Enscape, I found my way back into Chemonics, because in the course of working in Enscape, I did the MIT course. I had networks in Chemonics. I was called for a competitive interview, but the framework I had learned from MIT, plus my experience in supply chain, helped me tell them some things that, they were not used to, or it was a learning experience for the interviewers as it was for me who needed the job. So I got into Chemonics, and I did the best I could, handled the biggest projects I've ever handled in my life. And then Sanofi came calling for a higher role, a managerial role. This is also a place where I have to chill and learn. It's a different ball game here too, but it's been interesting so far. I don't know if I've answered your 2 questions. I know you asked 2 questions. The second question I'm trying to recall.
All right. So the second question is how did you get to know about the openings? But I think you partly addressed that, because I was asking if they were just open source information that you saw online, or someone actually hinted you that, oh, there's an opening here, do you want to apply, or stuff like that?
Yes. So it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
It is not every job I've applied for that I got called for an interview, really. NSKIP was open source, to be honest, but the GSI2 was open source, but from NYC into the Family Health International 360 was basically my network, impressing my superiors. So they were like, okay, go sort this out in state. It was in Port Harcourt. So it's a blend of both. It's open source, but even when you're trying to do open source, you must have gathered experience that perhaps the network has afforded you access to.
Thank you very much, Pharmacist Taiwo. So you mentioned 3 things that I hold on to, and I feel it's very important for us to take home here. One is networking, your ability to reach out to people and get in touch with people who are in industries you're interested in. And then you also mentioned competence. Yeah, going out there, taking personal efforts into building your competence in a particular area. You mentioned the MIC course you did. You mentioned volunteering. These things sound cliche, but they still hold relevant in our world today. Just putting yourself out there, regardless of how much you're offering in the meantime, and just gathering that experience to prepare you for a better and a better role in the future. So thank you very much for highlighting that to us. So over to you, Pharmacist Udo. You also have great expertise in the sales and marketing world. Serving as business development manager, head of marketing at EMS, and all of that stuff. So how would you describe what made you a good fit for such positions? How did you get to hear about those positions? How hold the hack for you?
Okay, thank you very much. I think what Taiwo has said for us that are into career management, it crystallizes the whole point. Now, the issue is this, the summary of all it is that whatever, be intentional in what you want to do. There are prices to pay. Most of the courses that he said he attended may not have been sent by the organizations. He did it himself. There are prices to pay. For me, I was passionate. First and foremost, I was dispassionate because as a bush boy, before I came into pharmacy, I didn't know. The only thing I knew about pharmacy was that you would just be competing with pet medicine vendors. So I never liked it in the first instance. It was my elder brother that convinced me to put pharmacy because I was very insistent on medicine as a bush boy. But when I started the course, I found out that I even love it better than medicine. So when I came out, the first port of call was my internship in the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital. And I got disgusted the more the way doctors treat pharmacists in the hospital. But before I left the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital in my internship, I was able to build myself because of the knowledge. The people that are treating pharmacists, the way they're treating them, treat them because pharmacy is bad. It's just the way some of us present ourselves. I had an encounter with a consultant, an old consultant, and at the end of it all, when we finished that encounter, the man had a lot of respect for me. If he's on consulting, he must send for me. Knowledge of what you're doing. Get immersed. Don't stand on the periphery. Get immersed. Whatever you have, anytime, whether you're on an internship, whether you're on youth service, wherever you are, get immersed. Know where you are going and then get immersed. Show yourself. Before I left University of Calabar Teaching Hospital as an intern, I headed the maternity department because now I was transferred from OPD to maternity department, and my boss had to go for leave because he wanted to get married. And there was no other person than for me to manage the department. Though the technicians were, angry and all that. By the time I left there, I went for service. One thing I want to let us know is that by the time I finished school, I was too old for youth service. But because of a sense of adventure, I decided to go for youth service. Then I was posted to Kano. And in Kano also, this issue of the Nasarawa Specialist Hospital, now Muhammad Abdullahi was still. Then I met one sales rep, Alex Anoja from Mea Becker then. other sales reps, they will come, the doctors will mess them around, throw them around, and I felt because they didn't have what it takes to convince the doctors. But this particular sales rep, Alex Anoja, was the one that said, changed my mind. I mean, when I saw what he did, in a particular presentation, the doctors were trying to mess him up as they mess up other things. This guy took them to pharmacokinetics and they were lost. And at the end of the day, he came out strong. I said, this is the work I want to do. This is an aspect of pharmacy. When I finished, I got offers for production pharmacists, hospital pharmacists, and all that. I said, and also because of the level of performance, there was a regional manager of Pfizer in Kano then. He saw me. In fact, he was the one that invited me that, come on, they're going to employ reps. I should write an application. And I want to tell you that the first and only application I wrote in my entire career was that first. It was the first and the last application I wrote. Now, I didn't know. You can say, how did you know you're going to be a marketing person? You see, your gifts and your performance will stand you out. In some organizations are watching you, but you don't know. I could have been a sales, manager or whatever, but the organization saw this is a marketing material. And I was promoted into that. It never applied. And from there, I move on to, product manager. I was in product management. I was headhunted in Lagos by Rambaxi. I got all manner of invitations and all that. I was like, why Rambaxi? Because then we knew companies and we knew companies, A doctor will tell you that Pfizer or Nimed, when you talk, Rambaxi will, listen and all that stuff. So I never wanted to do anything. I was headhunted at some point at the last decision. Now, even when I was a product manager, a junior product manager per se, I discovered that as far back as that time, that laptop as a marketing person is very important. Then what used to happen was that you will have a department will have a secretary and a desktop. So you write whatever you want to write in longhand, go and give, and it will tell you piles of letters to write and all that. But I knew, because when we were working with Pfizer South Africa, the product managers would come, all of them with laptops and all that. I was so excited. I said, how can we get to this point? I saved one and bought a second-hand laptop. And when Rambaxi disturbed me, I went to see the man. The only question they asked me, do you know how to do PowerPoint presentation? I laughed. Do you understand? And to discourage them, after we interacted with the MD and everything, to discourage them, I gave him when he asked me how much are you going to take, I just gave him some figures that will discourage him to let me go. He said, we'll pay you. That's how I started with Rambaxi. And you know what? I stayed in Rambaxi for only 3 months. One, I was not satisfied because what we said we were going to do, we were not doing. Then Eli Lilly was looking for a business manager. Then this man was the GM of the general manager of Chief Pharma then, Steve Onya was looking for. Was calling me. Where are you? Come. They're looking, and I came. Say, look, we've been looking for you. Eli Lilly wants a business manager. They want set up an interview and all that stuff. I went and we talked with the guy came from Kenya, Steve Mburu. And by the time he finished, he said he has been doing interview in this country for the past 3 months. He has not been able to get somebody. Even when the MD of Chi then, who was a Belgian, wanted to discourage me, when we have negotiated everything, salary and everything, the MD of what do you call him of Chi came in and said the money is too much. Why should you pay Nigerian that much? The man told him that this is the man he's been looking for. He has gotten him, and that's how I was. We started working. I was the one that launched Cialis in Nigeria. I don't know if you know Cialis. Do you know Cialis? Competitor to Viagra. I was the one that launched Cialis in Nigeria. Yeah. So, and from there was a vacancy in Emzo. Head of the marketing manager resigned. My friend told me I should apply. I went to see the man. I was in Jos. We did online interview and all that. I said I should send my CV. The man said, well, the only position that was available is a product manager, because the man was supposed to be the marketing manager. I told him I'm not interested. You see, you have to build yourself to the level and you know what you want and you go for it. Do you understand? So I told him I'm not interested. He had to beg me to come to Lagos to see the MD, Stella Okoli. And I told him I was going to be in Lagos by next week because there was a training in National Institute of Marketing I had registered for. So I will see. And when I came, I saw the woman and we talked, and the man was so excited They didn't have an MBA. The man was, look, what position were we talking about? The man said, product manager. I said, it's not me. The only position why I came here was that I'm talking about marketing manager. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. You have to know what you want and prepare yourself for that part. I cannot leave Nimed as a product manager, come to Emzo as a product manager. Why? It doesn't make sense. The woman said, I'll give it to him. He's qualified, he's good. I said, madam, I don't have an MBA. I said, Albert, forget about those MBA stuff. It's rubbish and all that. And I was there, distinguished myself. If you see what Emzo is today, and people have known Emzo, I joined Emzo in 2006, June 2006. The rebranding, the repositioning, everything was done by me. Now, I had to be seconded to go and start when a new subsidiary, Zolon Healthcare. I hope you know Zolon Healthcare. I was a pioneer. Yeah, I was a pioneer chief operating officer of Zolon. I managed that place for 3 years, and then I left in 2012. So the core point here is this. You have to be intentional. You have to know where you are going to and what it takes and build yourself. Today, my children asked me, said, Daddy, you say you read pharmacy? I said, yes. But we look at your library, there's no pharmacy book there. Because what you're going to do, most of the time, like, Taiwo said, is not taught in pharmacy school. So you're going to remove your pharmacy cap and be able to build yourself in strategic marketing. You'll build yourself in management, in HR management. Do you understand? To be able to fit into that position very well. Since it was not taught in school. So, but right now, you are in settings and people are talking, or you're talking only for them to know that you're a pharmacist. Say, how come you're talking like this? You don't look like a pharmacist. Because my pharmaceutical knowledge had given me the first job, and I moved on. And then for me, for anyone to move to the next level, you have to ask yourself, what does it take? And you acquire those skills and move on. That's how it has always been. It has always been invitations come. I have managed hospital. I have, done a lot of other things, turnaround management and everything. So the skills that you require, you have to know. And then mentoring is very important. Mentoring is very important. As Newton said, if I've seen any father, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of other people. Mentors have helped me a lot. Yes, networking is good. Like Steve Onya, that called me from Rambazi to come into Eli Lilly, was a mentor to me. Today, I know how much Larry Bale has helped me. Most of you would have known him. Professor Larry Bale is my chief mentor. So mentoring is important. Yes, networking is good, but mentoring, because there's so much you're going to learn. And it's not as if all this trajectory is all rosy. Do you understand? There are certain times you meet a roadblock, a challenge, and you need to somebody has to be, hey boy, turn like this, then you move forward. Do you understand? So mentoring is very important. You build your skills in the area that you want to go. I find it difficult to comprehend when a lot of people have this sense of entitlement. I'm a pharmacist. It doesn't take anybody anywhere. We are in the knowledge age. Thank God for us being pharmacists. You've done that, but thank God more for you to be able to protect that stuff very well. So that's how it has been. Be intentional, get immersed. Don't stand, say, after all, don't you know I'm a pharmacist? No, get immersed. Know what needs to be known. Learn. You have to do some investment on yourself. You heard Taiwo. The money he made in internship, he spent it in Sierra Leone. Without getting so, volunteering is very important, especially in the area that he went into. Volunteer, don't say I don't have a job yet. Look for something and volunteer and get immersed. Move forward. And you're building your skills. Because at the end of the day, today in interviews, nobody asks you. I've attended so many interviews, I've interviewed so many people. You don't ask where is your certificate. You interact with the person and know what that person is. I have joined organizations, it was only when they want to pay salary that they now they look for my file, they can't find. Say, we didn't even open the file for this person. They now beg me to bring my documents. It's the skills. The skill that you have that matters. Thank you very much. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, you've done justice to that question. So I just wish to reiterate some of the things you said. So you said we need to be very, very intentional with what we want to do, not just be laid back and say we are pharmacists and everything should be given to us on the platter of gold. You also mentioned about being immersed, that not just watching from the sidelines. We need to be immersed in what we're doing, because people are actually watching us, and when it comes to recommendations, that those people are what we do, and I've seen that we carry our work with diligence, and we have the skill set required to more often than not recommend us for better positions. Thank you very much. And then you also mentioned something that hasn't always been a rosy journey, that it has also been faced with some challenges here and there. So could you like highlight some of the challenges that you experienced in your career, and more importantly, tell us how you were able to surmount such challenges? Thank you.
Okay. Now, I define failure. Failure is like success. It's only a milestone on the road to your posterity. For me, I don't work for this life. I work like, at the end of the day, I will be like Steve Jobs. When I look at companies like Pfizer, GSK, and all that, and they have outlived their founders. How many companies in Nigeria have outlived their founders? How many companies? What has Pfizer done to be able to be relevant today, despite the fact that the founder had died since a long time ago and in different companies and spread all over the world? So in looking at this trajectory, looking at where you are going, a lot of people will not understand you. Even when you talk and the things you want to do, they will think you are either being arrogant or something, but they don't understand. I was listening to this guy yesterday, Cosmos Maduka, the founder of Koshkaris, said adversity is the fire that burns the impurities that allow you to go forward. In your career, sometimes you get to a point you feel that you should change, you should move to the next level. It doesn't come. It doesn't come. So you feel frustrated, you've reached this level. Now, for me, most of the time I've moved up, it has been from one company to the other, not on the same, trajectory. From one company to the other, so that you have to be able to build yourself, and then you get to a point you can't move forward anymore based on where you want to go and all that stuff. So sometimes you may have made a mistake along the way that probably is affecting you. And sometimes, you see, when you are thinking for tomorrow, you're not thinking about today, you see your mate pursuing money. Because one thing that you're going to do, you can't pursue two things at the same time. It's not possible. If you enter and you say you want to pursue money, the best you can be is a pharmacy owner, in community practice. For you to run a company, for you to own a company and run it well, you have to be able to learn and build the skill that is required to run a company that you will see. And that tomorrow you will live, when people come, they say, there was somebody here. For me, that's my focus. And that is what I see. Do you understand? So in running this kind of stupid dream or mad dream, a lot of people won't understand. Even company owners will think you want to come and take over from them. And you wonder how. In the CAC document, your name is not there. And they're afraid. Do you understand? So what do? You have to find a way. One, also there are skills. Because when you are running like that raw, there are certain mistakes that are going to make. You have to learn emotional skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, and all that. How do you relate with people? Let me say also this. There's a lot of politics in organizations. There are a lot of politics. That you see that people that you are even better than are being promoted because they have a way of telling stories. So it's not as if it's going to be an all rosy thing. You're going to need money. You want to go for training, you need money. You need to buy books and all that stuff. While others are buying, other things and all that stuff. You may not have all the money that you need because at the time you are not yet there. You're still in the building process. So it's not as if it's a bed of roses. Like Taiwo said, all the money he made during his internship, he spent it, building himself in Sierra Leone. It's stuff like that. But his colleagues, other people have probably used the money to open a pharmacy shop. And they are doing better in terms of better in code because they have money. But where Taiwo can stand today, they can't stand. It's all about your dream, your vision. Where do you want to be? Where are you going? And that determines what you do. It therefore means that you have to be very focused. Focus is important because there are going to be distractions. Do you understand? At the point that your expectation or your result does not meet your expectation, because you could say, this is 2020, by 2025, I want to be this, and you find out that you are not there yet. That means some people will say you have failed because your result does not meet your expectation. When your result meets your expectation, that's success. Both success and result are the same thing. They're only milestones. They are not the end. Because after 2025, what next? You still have to move forward. Okay, you couldn't get what you wanted to get at 2025. You need to know, how do you read? What are the self-assessments? What mistakes have I made? Why have I not made the decision? That's why personal development plan is very important, and career management. You know, what are the mistakes I made? What should I do new? Who knows what I should know? That's where mentoring comes in. Which book should I read? Which training should I go for to be able to get to where I want to get to? So that's basically what it is. You are muted.
All right, sorry. Thank you very much, Pharmacist Odo. So you mentioned that we need to be clear with our vision, and that our vision can be misconstrued by other people, that they might think we are being too forward or we want to usurp management and stuff like that, but we should still stay resolute and know what we want. And that you also reiterated the importance of having a mentor that can guide us when we seem to be going astray, and you also highlighted the political issues that go on within the corporate world and how we should stay firm and continue to pursue our vision. So thank you very much. We're moving on to Pharmacist Taiwo. I believe it's perhaps you have a similar story. In challenges on the job, perhaps things you felt you should have done in the past that probably in hindsight you may have done something better. Basically, the challenges you encountered and how you were able to surpass them, or what you're currently doing, you're better prepared to face future challenges.
Okay, so there's an extra mic on. Okay, so I think I talked about this in passing. The fact that my training, I was premature for the type of industry I wanted to enter, and by virtue of what I had in terms of training from school. So yeah, I wanted to do supply chain, and I went to MIT. I didn't tell the full story again. I failed one of the modules twice, and I had to do it a third time before I passed it. I passed it very well that third time. If you want to work in supply chain, you need to be very comfortable with numbers. You need to be intuitive with numbers, because the numbers guide decision making. If we are faced with 3-4 decisions, what are the fixed costs, variable costs for each of those, and where do we pitch our tent to maximize impact, minimize losses, and all of that? That's one shocker I received and made me understand that, see, your pharmacy curriculum, you've gone through hell and back for your pharmacy degree, but calm down and acquire this in addition to what you have. The world is not going to be served to you on a plate. So one of the first challenges I had was in terms of getting in tune with the competence I needed to function in the role I have chosen to function. But that is technical. The bigger one is also the softer dimension to things. Communication, influencing. So I work in a role that needs me to influence people across different business units. Actually, my role until some time ago was demand manager. I'm now the sales and operations planning business partner. I've not put it on LinkedIn. But then I'll put that on sometime soon. And at the level of business partnering, you're supposed to chair a monthly meeting where the head of the business, if you know Sanofi's head of business, Madam Polake, will be seated there. The head of marketing across the business unit, consumer, specialty, essential medicines, generic medicines, the head of regulatory, the people who interface with NAFDAC, the head of metrics, the business excellence guys. For those who rep, they understand what I'm talking about. And as small as I am, I mean, I dare say I'm the youngest person in that place, the least experienced in terms of years. I have to be able to influence them. I have to be able to communicate in a way that appeases their egos, but makes sure the work gets done. And that has presented a challenge for me. Like, so I've had to watch YouTube videos. I've had to learn how to play corporate politics, not for any sinister intent, but to make sure that everybody moves on as a collective unit. You know, that's some of the challenge I've faced. If I'm going to expand a bit beyond that, it's strange, it's counterintuitive, but the challenge of being focused too. So somehow LinkedIn says I am a top influencer or something. Not like I post much content, maybe the breadth of my network and what have you. It means constantly people DM me, we have this position, would you like to come join? We have this position. If I say yes to everything, I barely will spend 4 months in each role. And piggybacking off what Mr. Albert Udo mentioned, being intentional means I develop a personal Gantt chart. You can Google what a Gantt chart is, Gantt, a personal Gantt chart. And then on the Gantt chart, I define what my short and mid-term objectives are. Long term, everything is in the hands of God anyways, but short to medium term objectives, and then see how my existence where I am helps me meet those objectives on a personal term, and see how those objectives help me meet the organizational objectives. It has to be a win-win between my personal objectives and the organization's objectives. And in pursuing that, I can't say yes to everything that comes. It's been a challenge, I won't lie to you. People see that you're young, they know you're mobile, they know they can ask you to be in Kano today, be in Abuja tomorrow. You won't say, you know, my wife, my kids, and what have you. So but that's just me being, how would I put it, vulnerable here. It's me being telling something that perhaps a lot of people don't talk about. So it's been a challenge learning to influence people who are significantly older, people who have been practicing possibly before I entered secondary school. I'm getting the hang of it, and I'm understanding how to tailor communication per person. You know, you don't give blanket communication to everybody like vaccines. No, you like pharmacogenomics again. You know, pharmacogenomics is telling you everybody has a different genetic composition. Some are fast metabolizers, some are slow metabolizers. You administer erythromycin 500 milligrams to everybody. For someone, it's an overdose. For another person, it's an underdose. You know, so that's one thing I am learning right now. It was a challenge, but I'm overcoming it, and there's been a whole lot of success. How to make people older than you accountable. You hold a meeting, you have agreements and action points. These people are, I mean, when they talk, they ooze wisdom. So they give you what looks like a commitment, and everybody pins it down. And further down the line, the goalposts shift. How do you as a young person make them accountable to that in a way that won't look like you are insulting them? There's a lot of gap for the ability to influence that I've had to build, and I'm still building. I'm not there yet. If there's anything I wish I had learned prior to now that I think would have made this work, I think I would have embraced. And again, this is strange. This is not supply chain. This is not even pharmacy. But I wish I had embraced digital marketing. Now, digital marketing, not to say I'll be writing copies for, you know, businesses or writing email newsletters. No, not exactly. But we live in the digital age. So 15 years ago, your brand was, oh, the guy wears suit and tie. Oh, the lady speaks prim and proper. She uses her brand perfume and what have you. We're shifting from that perceptive age that is by virtue of me seeing you to a digital platform, like a digital environment where you need to be able to manage a brand there. And it doesn't happen by happenstance. It doesn't come by happenstance. There has to be some deliberate effort. So kudos to all the pharmacists who are putting in work and understanding how it is to function in the gig economy. I wish I had learned a bit of digital marketing. Digital marketing, digital communication, digital competence altogether in the gig economy of today would help you get more visibility. It's an adjuvant to whatever skill it is you do. If you're a regulatory person, there are people who are looking for regulatory problems. I can't count how many, if Fumbi is on the line here, I can't count how many people have, you know, referred to him because that competence I don't have. There are people who have regulatory problems to solve with NAFDAC. If you have served with NAFDAC or you did your internship with NAFDAC and it's within your competence, digital marketing is, for example, a skill you could pick up that will accelerate your visibility in the communities of people who have that problem, people who have that thirst. So I wish I had embraced it long before now, because that way I could have maybe spun off a side business that would be bringing in that kind of money you think I have. Or, you know, I could have used the visibility it would have given me to, you know, achieve more, not necessarily for me, but perhaps for people coming from behind. So in summary, that's it.
Thank you very much, Master Style. So you said that you had challenges being able to influence people who are older than you, have a wider array of experience than you, and you said something important which I hold on to, and that's you making a conscious effort to surmount that challenge, you know, watching YouTube videos and, you know, trying to improve your business communication so you can influence people across all levels in the organization and not seem like you're condescending or in arrogance in your approach. And also mentioning the digital marketing, yeah, the world is going digital now, and it's a skill which I feel is invaluable regardless of the sector you want to delve into, because the world is looking for people who possess the digital skills to help improve business and organizational performance. Um, so I have a question here from one of the participants, but I really don't know who it was addressed to. So I'll just read it out. So this is coming from Adesola Awoni Nuga. So she says, please, I would like to know how you decided to go into the sector you are. Did you yield to passion or trend? What are the things that informed your decision? I don't know. She didn't address this to anybody in particular. So
Okay, should I take that?
yeah, you could.
Okay. So at the time, so this is a personal question, so I'm not aspiring to aspire anything here. This is my story. So at the time I was interested in supply chain. I was interested in a bigger goal, really, not exactly supply chain per se. And this is me being honest. Supply chain is a conduit for achieving that bigger goal. So the bigger goal is, how do I maximize my return on investment for impact? If you're a surgeon today, you are operating on one patient per time. You're changing that patient's life. You are redeeming that patient from death, but it is one patient per time. High impact, low, width. I had wanted to work in a space where the return on the investment of my labor will affect populations. And like I mentioned, public health was my perspective to entering there. So my interest in supply chain was shaped by public health, because we were like, okay, yeah, this is where you will best function. And so I think it's on that end, it's passion to pursue a particular goal in life, and then have that goal shaped by what the industry is. So I think I've added some flexibility, provided my goal was still in large being met. At a time in my job in USAID, there had to be a lot of risk management and what have you around data, because if the laptop I was working on got lost at that time, I say this with all of the humility, the entire national HIV/AIDS diagnostics framework was in shambles if that laptop got lost. So I don't know if this means I'm power hungry, but it meant that every Excel spreadsheet I'm building a model in, every aggregation I'm doing, every tool I'm working on is affecting tens of thousands of people, from Maiduguri to Kotangora, from Akpabio in Calabar. to Sokoto, so the goal was still being met. My return on investment, 1 hour of work I've done, helps me communicate with plants in Europe, helps me fast track movement of products from warehouses nationwide, and helps address the needs of over 961,000 HIV/AIDS patients. So it's a blend of passion, but I had some flexibility alongside it. It wasn't trend, because then I got a job with a pharmaceutical company that I won't mention, and I did not take it. And it paid significantly higher than the job I did in Port Harcourt. That was what was trendy then. Now supply chain is trendy. Something else is not trendy right now. I can't place a finger on it. If supply chain is what you want to do, then the barrier to entry has risen slightly higher, and you need to come to the table with slightly more, because it's the trend now. In the next 15 years, something else will be the trend. Maybe AI overlapping with drug development, machine learning. Shout out to Wuraola and Babatunde. They're pushing that front. Pharmacists working in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Maybe that's the next trend. It's not trendy now for pharmacists, but maybe you want to be on that wagon already, So in answering that question in summary, it was a passion shaped by flexibility.
Thank you very much. So it was passion. You knew exactly what you wanted. The goal was fine and created achieving it. All right. Thank you very much. I want to expand on that. The lady that just said yes to both. So she wants to go into the sector for the trend. Maybe we ask things that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Are you hearing me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when people hear about passion, passion is not only about what you like. Passion is also about what don't you like? What would you want to change? Do you understand? When I started, it was about what do I want to change? Now, as I grew up in my career and then being exposed to business consultants, business managers across the world through reading of books and magazines like Harvard Business Review, you come in contact with people like Steve Jobs and all that. It now becomes, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want to do? So sometimes it could be, what do you want to change? For instance, you're a pharmacist, you have a soft spot for clinical pharmacy. You don't like the way patients are being treated in the hospital. It could be your passion, it could be your starting point. But the most important thing is that as you enter into that, there are certain things that you don't see. There are certain skills that you have to learn. For instance, stakeholders management. For me, stakeholders management is what I'm still learning till tomorrow. It's very critical, especially for you young guys that are coming in. It's no longer about age. Age is but numbers. What the Bible says, the gift of a man makes way for him. He'll stand before kings and not mere men. So you don't get intimidated by people's age and numbers. It's about what you know and how do you pass this information down in a way that you're not insulting anybody. You carry everybody along. That's what stakeholders management does. So passion is important. And as you go or grow up in your career, where do I want to make my impact? Because you now see a whole lot of opportunities opened up. If you have not been intentional, you get distracted. So you now decide, this is where I want to be because of the passion that I have. We define passion as an indicator of your purpose. Every man or woman was created for a purpose. The purpose of living is not making money. It's about providing solutions. So what will you be known by when you are no longer the way generations yet unborn? So it becomes that. Until your passion or your purpose is bigger than what you are seeing, you can't move forward. That's why it's vision. Vision is something that you cannot attain. It keeps shifting. Do you understand? So you must have vision. Where are you going? So that when the distractions come, you don't lose track. They say when you stop to throw stone at every door that backs on you, when you're on a journey, you'll never get to where you are going. So you have to be able to manage your focus, and your focus is dependent on your vision. And along the track as you are going, what do I need to know? What do I need to leave behind? Do you understand? Because you can't be everything to everybody. That's what we say in marketing. You can't sell to everybody. So what do I need to shed? What load do I need to shed? What load do I need to, carry? What skills? Today, whether you like it or not, if you want to be relevant, it was not taught 15 years ago. It was not taught 5 years ago. Nobody will teach you. Digitalization has taken over. So you have to be constantly learning. The day you stop learning is the day you start dying. Learning is a continuous process, actively learning every day. Like today on this program, I've learned something. Do you understand? So you can never know all, no matter how old or how big you think you are. So that capacity, that body language that you want to learn makes you also navigate your road or your career. Your passion could change as you go along. Do you understand? And you cannot say because I'm a clinical pharmacist, the care of the patients can have to be dispensing on the counter. In this career, I've seen people that if you promote them from one position, maybe from a rep to another level, where they will leave their local where they were before, they will resign. Do you understand? Somebody was in Calabar as a medical rep, and then you now promote him to product manager in Lagos, they will resign. They say they don't want to leave Calabar. It's dependent on their vision. So that you are a clinical pharmacist, you are on the bench dispensing, the day they want to promote you to a departmental head, say, no, I don't want, I want to be on the bench. But you discover that you could, if you have your vision right, at that position that you're being promoted to, you could still use that position to achieve what you wanted to achieve. What you couldn't achieve as a frontline pharmacist, you could change in terms of policy, in terms of better patient management and everything, and all that. So your vision is the same, but along the line, your offices or capacities will change. But so you use whatever position that you are to make sure you advance your vision. Like Taiwo said, you don't learn corporate politics for the negative aspect of it. It's for you to learn how to navigate. We call it stakeholders management in strategy. It's not corporate politics, stakeholders management. What does A want? What does A like? What does B like? And all that stuff. You dispense all this according to how it fits them so that you can get everybody on board and move forward. So you need to know that your passion changes along the line, but your vision matters.
Thank you very much, Pharmacist Albert. So you highlighted that we need to stay focused on what we want, and that we can't obviously say yes to everything. Yet we need to be adaptable in ways of achieving our vision. That we should, like Pharmacist Taiwo highlighted that he actually turned down a job offer from a company because it was not in line with what he wanted to do. So it's very important for us to stay focused on what we want and be disciplined enough to stay true to it, yet flexible in our ways of achieving it. So I would just want to ask Pharmacist Albert if is there any future plans you have, ambition going forward? Is there anything you have stirring up, like future plans and or whatnot regarding your career? If you mind sharing it with us.
I am not yet there. I have not arrived yet. At some point, as a product manager, I started reading Harvard Business Review, and I saw what was happening, what business managers were doing, and I said to myself, I'll have to build myself or train myself to such an extent that I will take over companies and run, make impact in companies and everything. I'm not yet there. Now, what do I have for future? I have to continue to learn, to train myself. In the next couple of years, this is a year or thereabout, I should be able to launch some books because right now I'm under pressure by some colleagues that, hey, all this that put it down in the book so that other people can learn, and all that stuff. So a book or two they are in the offing, and then I also continue to build myself, build organizations, I want to see the pharmaceutical industry turn to a better place. Right now, in the pharmaceutical industry, what I'm looking at is that there's a gap between the academia and the research institutions and the markets. So I'm trying to see how do we build a bridge. There are a lot of researches. If you go to National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research, NIPRID, there are a lot of things that are developed and all that, and coronavirus has also made that more relevant today than whatever. How do we build a bridge between the research institutions? I have colleagues who are in the academia. They will tell you how many researches they've done. It has not been published. It cannot be used. It cannot be used. How do we build a bridge between the research institutions and the market? That's what is currently very critical for me now. Then how do we improve the drug value chain? We are having a meeting with the National Institute of, National Health Insurance Scheme the other day. And the problem is also this issue of adulteration. And the solution to that is purely supply chain. How do we allow pharmacists to take over that process? So from manufacturing to the end user, there is no interference. There's no leakage, and all that stuff. So that is one thing that is critical. The future, that's what I'm working on, building a bridge between the research institutions and the market, based on what I've known and the experiences I've gathered, and working with colleagues in both divide. Do you understand? So that's what I'm looking at. Well, I don't know, maybe in the longer term, to build a research institute.
That's
it.
Very ambitious pursuits you have there, and thank you for having the pharmacy profession in mind, trying to share your knowledge with us. Also, thinking a line of bridging the gap between research academia and the marketplace. Thank you very much for that. So we'll be wrapping up very soon. So I just want to ask pharmacist Taiwo if he has any parting words, perhaps something he wants to share that we haven't touched upon yet that you want to share with the participants. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ben, and thank you for the 34 people who have stayed back. At the point I saw 41 people. Thanks for the privilege to talk, anyways. I want to talk about mentorship. So when we think about mentorship, we think it's up down, like gravitational. So the person mentoring is up, the person mentored is down. It's not that way. It's from the little I know, it's not that way. So there's a concept in Silicon Valley right now in the US, reverse mentorship. In the 70s and the 80s, the early entrants into the tech space, the IBMs of this world, the Macintosh, Sun Systems and the likes, people enter that space as coders, as the technical guys. Over the time, they've moved into marketing, sales, business development, and they become vice presidents. They still want to have a touch, and they're recruiting the hotheads from Stanford and Harvard. For them, for the big men in their mid-50s, 60s, they have a system for reverse mentorship. So they're like, oh, young guy, I heard you're the hottest in Python today. What's happening? Over the next 3 weeks, I need to bring me up to speed. That's my type of, that's the reverse mentorship methodology. I'm just bringing that up on the table for folks to know. That as a corollary to the point I'm about to make. So we don't emphasize mentorship enough. And even where it is being emphasized, we don't pursue it enough. I'm still in search of mentors. I have people who mentor me in different dimensions. I must be very, very plain. Perhaps I've not formalized it as an email, but a lot of people, a lot of younger pharmacists are an inspiration to me. And I get a lot of mentorship from them, really. It might not be very obvious, but they know themselves, really. I think we should be a little bit more deliberate about seeking out mentors. A mentor sometimes has achieved in that terrain he's mentoring you about. Sometimes the mentor has not achieved there, but the mentor from their vantage point has an insight there that can be of value to you. Perhaps time has passed them by, they can't play in that space anymore. But if they could go back and live their lives 15 years back, they know how best to have shaped themselves for that future they see, and that is what you want to tap into, really. So I think we should get into the habit, not just shooting random mails at anybody. If someone shoots an email at me, I can read the mail and know that this person has done some work, and I can read another mail and know, okay, I'm sure at least 50 people received this generic type of email. And that's where digital marketing comes in anyways. One of the ways digital marketing can help you. So we need to go out and seek mentors in places, in fields where we intend to play. And those mentors really don't have to be white people with white hair. You know, it could be people younger than you. And then in addition to that, finally, mentors are busy, really. So you should be willing to carry some of their weight. So there has to be some value transfer. You know, it's like a business. So I can't count how many times mentors have called to say, can you quickly just help do this research on this? I'm trying to, what do you think about this? I know what I'm getting from them, so I'm available to make that sacrifice. You know, so we should seek out mentors. It doesn't have to be supply chain, really. Whatever interests you have, seek out mentors and be willing to give value in exchange for what you get from them.
Thank you very much for that. You just stressed a very important point, which is mentorship. And I just learned a new word from you, which is reverse mentorship, reiterating that it's not, shouldn't be a unilateral relationship. Rather, it should be a bilateral two-way thing, whereby even the mentee is also adding or transferring value to the mentor. I think these days mentors want to, they want to people want to mentor people who they can also gain stuff from. People that are also adding value to them, and not someone that always, okay, give me, give me, give me. You understand? So we should always also ask ourselves that, okay, I seek to obtain this um, value from this person. What am I giving in return? I think that's a very important question we should ask ourselves when seeking our mentor. So thank you very much for highlighting that once again. Over to you, pharmacist Albert. Do you have any parting words for our audience or anything you would want to touch upon before we wrap this up? Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I have learned so much from this interaction. Like I said, let us be active learners. Learning not in terms of only going to school. The world is a school. In your workplace, whatever assignment that you have to do. I agree with Taiwo when he talked about reverse mentoring. I remember when my mentor used to tell me, like, I've learned so much from you. I thought he was joking. I said, I thought he was joking. But now at the level that I am, I know how much I've learned from people who are below me, So it's very important that we have to get focused, very important. We have to understand what exactly, who am I? Understand that. Because you can't be what every other person is. Be a brand. Brand yourself. That at times, this is who I am, and this is what I need to move forward, and this is who can help me. There are people out there to help. Value, live a life of value in every relationship. What strengthens a relationship is the value that we tread. Is a value that we tread. We must learn to tread value. There's nobody that's valueless. Don't look down on yourself. You have something that other people are needing, even people who are up higher than you. So, but then in all this, be humble. Thank you very much.
Very much, Pharmacist Odo. Value trading, yet again, being reminded of the importance of being able to pass something in return. So it has been a very, very amazing session so far. Thank you to all the 33 participants that were able to make it till the end of this webinar. Quite positive that we had a handful of things to take home. Things we probably noted down we need to work on, because it goes beyond just listening to these things without executing them and taking actionable steps in what we hope to achieve. Merely words, passing words, having any major impacts in our lives. So this webinar is currently being recorded, so you can revert to it. If you wish to, go through some part of it, just to, remind yourself of some of the things that were said, it's going to be recorded. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Albert, Udo, and Pharmacist Mariosori Taiwo. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for sharing your wealth of experience with us. And thank you for honoring this invitation. It was an absolute delight having you in our midst today. And thank you so much from the YPG committee, all these members of the educational committee. I want to thank Masters Olubukola for putting this up, and every other committee member in the education and training committee, and then also the ESCO that were able to make this a success today. So thank you very much, and guess we'll be drawing the curtains here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hi, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Pharmacist Taiwo and Pharmacist Albert Udo, for your time. We hope that someday we get to work together again.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. So do have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.